Welcome to Vedic Mathematics Basis Values classes. Today we are in the final lesson of this introductory information, initiation, exposure to the values and formats of Videshwar Samhita in this phase 10. Phase 10 is a phase which focuses upon a Shiv Puran, and essentially the focus here in this introductory lessons remains upon the Videshwar Samhita. Videshwar Samhita is a scripture of 25 adhyayas, 25 lessons. Lesson 1, which begins with its prayer and runs through the range of 38 shlokas in itself, as we have glimpsed, is a compendium of a reservoir of very large number of values and features. It is in terms of the values and features of the 38 shlokas of first chapter of Videshwar Samhita that we have to proceed further. It is with imbibing of, it is with the background of the values and features of prayer as well as the text range of 38 shlokas of Videshwar Samhita that we shall be proceeding further. We will be having further initiation. In fact, the real initiation of the format of 5-space VMST in terms of the ancient text of Shiv Puran begins with chapter 2 of Videshwar Samhita. All the values, all the features which we have been exposed to up till this phase and stage of chapter 1 of Videshwar Samhita will be of great help to us. In fact, our whole of the initiation, of our whole of the further progress is to depend upon the foundation being laid in terms of the lessons 15 up till lesson 59. Today, lesson 60, the last lesson of this phase, is captioned Rudraksh Mantras. The lesson 60 is focusing upon Rudraksh Mantras. Chapter 25, the last chapter of the Videshwar Samhita, preserves as many as 14 Rudraksh mantras. These Rudraksh mantras are in fact the sum up of the values of 5-space VMST. It is also a sum up of the end reach in terms of a initiation and progress along 5-space format. Therefore, we shall be coming to these sutras at subsequent stages. Here just it is being introduced, it is being brought to notice that the Videshwar Samhita sequentially progresses, sequentially takes us to, sequentially brings us face to face with the different values and features of 5-space of transcendental domain, and how the transcendentality ultimately will transit and transform into eternity. How the eternity is being achieved by the ancient text, how the format is being settled, how the format stands determined for the sadhakas to attain breakthrough, to attain eternity while being along the transcendental domain, along the transcendental format. Therefore, while processing along the format of a Sthapatya miring rod, the sadhakas while will be following the values and features as are being compiled, as are being preserved, as are being brought to pointed attention in the Videshwar Samhita, then the sadhakas shall be attaining eternity. Subsequently, when one shall be sequentially through the different samhitas and will be in the Kailash Samhita, then one shall be knowing as to how these sadhakas ultimately become parallel to the values reservoir of Lord Shiva. One also shall be brought face to face with the feature that yati is one transcendental state. Yati is that culmination state. Sadhaka as yati, when will be fulfilled with with the grace, transcendental grace, then that attainment of the sadhakas will further bring to pointed attention that anteshti, the end reach of the journey of the existence phenomenon within human frame of a yati, of a sadhaka proceeding upon the transcendental path and having attained breakthrough for the eternity. So the eternity reach within human frame as a Purusha is designated as yati. The anteshti, the end reach customs, the end reach existence phenomenon formalities for the yatis are taken for the 10th, 11th and 12th days. So the 10th, 11th and 12th, so 10, 11 and 12 values are triple values in respect of which there is a particular specific values range. However, the values 1 to 9 and value 13, values 1 to 9 and value 13 as such along a diamonid format shall be taking us to that we are upon hyper Q1 as interval which will take us to the boundary. So a raised to power n is to 2n, b raised to power n minus 1 is the formulation, domain boundary formulation. The value n is equal to 1 to 9 as such will give us a raised to power 1 is to 2, b raised to power 0, a raised to power 2 is to 4, b raised to power 1 and a raised to power n is to 18, b raised to power 8. Therefore, the reach will be from domain to its boundary. So the boundary fold within which the domain fold stands enveloped will become the attainable takeoff stage. Therefore, from domains of space 1 to space 9, from hypercube 1 to hypercube 9, we will reach at their boundaries. So the 2 points boundary of one space, 4 lines boundary of 2 space, 6 surface plates boundary of 3 space, and like that the 16 natural components of 9 domain are the features which will give us a takeoff. Therefore, while one will be progressing, while one will be upon the transcendental path of his Thapatya miring rod, then one sequentially will reach with the diamondite format at the boundaries. So it would be like that if the existence phenomenon which is already of a Shad chakras format, then we know the external characteristics of chakras 1 to 6 are in the ratio 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, which is parallel to the boundary components of hypercubes 1 to 6. Further, we know that 6 space as dimension shall be taking us to 9 space as a boundary. Therefore, the yati who will be on the transcendental path will be attaining eternity, will be having a Nav Brahm, will be reaching a Brahman reservoir. So he will be exhaustively having a coverage of 9 chakras in a body and will be ready for a takeoff from the 10th chakra. Though 10th, 11th and 12th chakras as such are the automatic attainments of the existence phenomenon of the sadhakas on the transcendental path and being fortunate to be fulfilled with the transcendental grace, and there being a transition and transformation for an eternity. Now the step ahead of the transcendentality is the step of an eternity. It is the step of value 13. We know that value 13 is parallel to 13 geometries range of 6 space. We also know hypercube 6 is having 13 versions. Further, we also know that within 4 space domain, 12-edged cube manifests 13th edge along the degree of freedom of motion for solids within a 4 space. Therefore, value 13 as such is the value of a culmination of the existence phenomenon of the transcendental phenomenon till the attainment and reach of an eternity. So therefore, let us make a note that the value 13 is the TCV value of the formulation kram, means the sequence. Therefore, the sequence of processing steps and all mathematical sequences will be of value 13. So it is sequential progression is of 13 steps. So the conclusion of Vedic mathematics for the Vedic mathematics, science and technology is that while the pure values would be chased for their applied values along the Sthapatya miring rod, then this chase is going to be of 13 steps. Now we know that hypercube 4 gives a 4 space domain within which 12-edged cube manifests a 13th edge. The 13th edge manifests along the degree of freedom motion. So the 4th dimension, which provides a degree of freedom of motion for solids, is of a spatial order. So as the degree of freedom of motion for the solids within 4 space domain is going to be of a spatial format, therefore the 13th edge as being of the degree of freedom of motion of a spatial dimension, therefore it will acquire value for a double by the dimonad as a value 26. We know that value 26 is TC value of samapti. As such, the conclusion of Vedic systems of sequential progression along the Sthapatya miring rod is that all sequences ultimately get exhausted, get merged, get unified. So the end reach of the sequential progressions, sequential reach, sequential mathematics, the mathematics of Ganita Sutras, which had become with Ganita Sutra 1 Ekadhin Purve, adopting a sequential order. Therefore, the sequential order, which is the first order, which is the first value of the mathematics, will ultimately reach its culmination, the end reach. It would be a reach like this, that value 13 acquires a dimonad format and gets unified, reaches its end value as 26. So Kram Samapti is the final formulation in terms of which we will be face to face with the mathematical reach which is being worked out, which is being provided by the Ganita Sutras. Therefore, all our prayer, all our system of mathematics which is being availed for the applied values as 5 space VMST takes us to that all sequences which essentially are of infinite steps. So when these are applied again along a dimonad format, it takes us to infinite infinities. This infinite infinities make out a surface for us. We can take it like this, that line or an interval is a format for infinite points. So the infinite lines will make a surface. So infinity of infinities or infinite infinities will make a setup which will take from monad to a dimonad format, and with it there would be a culmination, there would be end reach, and it is this end reach with which the Vedic systems ultimately blissfully attain eternity. The attainment of an eternity for the transcendentality, so from the transcendental domain to the end reach of its eternity, which is the attainable object, which is the attainability being appointed, which is being blessed. Therefore the sadhakas fulfilled with intensity of urge to get fulfilled with the values of 5 space VMST will ultimately become Shiva, the existence of phenomenon within human frame as a Purusha will be of the order of the transcendental phenomenon of transition and transformation for the transcendentality, the transcendental domain into an eternity. So Shiva to Sadashiva is the phenomenon which is a Kram Samapti. We know that 13 points range has 12 gaps, and likewise the 26 points will be giving us as 24 as a dimension. Therefore this reach for fulfilling the gaps as is being done here in this mathematics, then we are adopting a dimonad format such that one of its monad itself is of a dimonad format. Therefore ultimate working tool comes to be the format beneath Ganita Sutra 1, and this format is of a dimonad format, and the format for the first monad, first component itself is of a dimonad. This we can see, that we can visit again, we can recapitulate that this format of dimonad with first component itself being a dimonad is of the format that there is line and surface both within a surface. So the end reach point as such will be that we are within a surface, and this is accommodating line and a surface. So it is line and a surface within a surface. So it is Vyasti and Samasti. Therefore, like that, we will be sequentially reaching at the Ganita Sutras, and at the 11th step, the Vyasti Samasti will be the phenomenon. We know that 11 is the value which is parallel to the 11 versions of hypercube 5, and it is parallel to the 11 representative regular bodies as 11 versions of hypercube 5 of 11 geometries of 5 space. With it, we can say that let us mention in our notebook as the end message of this lesson that in this introductory exposure to the ancient textbook, we have been learning that how the textbook is to be compiled, how the textbook unfolds itself, how the textbook becomes a self-contained textbook. Then further we have known that we have to compile Transcendental Code Values Dictionary and NVF Values Dictionaries. Then further we have known that the prayer with which and the meditation with which we have to melt the linear order, linear mental state, spatial mental state, solid mental state of our intelligence field are the fourfold phases of the prayer which is initiated in terms of the text of a Ganita Sutras, 16 Ganita Sutras and 13 Ganita Upsutras, which make a prayer of 29 steps parallel to the TCV value 29 of Lord Brahma, the presiding deity of creator space and presiding deity of the Mayor of the Sthapatya Measuring Rod. In the second phase, we have seen that this text of Ganita Sutras and Ganita Upsutras are to be augmented to bridge the gaps in between of the sutras and also in between of the Upsutras. Therefore, it is this feature which brings us face to face with this organization of 9 into 11 n minus 1 into n plus 1 grid, and along this particular grid we know that the upper part is giving us an augmented text of the Ganita Sutras, as there are 29 reflection pairs, of which 13 reflection pairs and 16 reflection pairs get segregated like Ganita Sutras and Ganita Upsutras. And after this particular phase and stage, we know that we have to provide a diamond format for each of the letters. We know there are 36 letters in all which are being availed by this text of the range of 519 letters. 519 letters is diamond format give us 1038 monads, of which 38 monads get segregated and 1000 monads get classified as an independent class. Then further we have seen that the diamond format of the first formulation Ekadhikain Purvain is of a transcendental code value 40, which is equal to 18 plus 22, and this is parallel to the Shankar Ambika diamond, transcendental diamond provided in this particular prayer cross. So like that, we have to have 4 phases of prayer, and parallel to it we will have a transcendental meditation. With this formatting, with this organization, with these features, with these techniques, with these values, we will be in a position to see that the unified state of our intelligence will get of the phase and stage and of the values, that the transcendental domain will be enveloped within a creative boundary, and then the transcendental domain of its own will come into play. Now it is this, the transcendental domain coming into play of its own, is the phenomenon in terms of which the sadhakas will be fulfilled with the transcendental grace, and this transcendental grace will put the sadhakas, the intelligence, along the consciousness base, and the flow of the intelligence along the consciousness base will be acquiring the ultimate end reach of transition and transformation for the transcendental domain into an eternity. It is this reach, it is this attainment which we are wishing, it is this reach which we are aspiring. And then we shall make a note that the Shiv and Sadashiv, Ling and a Murti, manifest and transcendental, these all are the features which are having a pair of formulations, and these are Sakal and Nishkal. So Sakal and Nishkal are the pair of formulations which are of TCV values 12 and 24, parallel to the pair of formulations Shiv and Sadashiv. Therefore, Sakal and Nishkal, Shiv and Sadashiv are the pair of formulations in terms of which we will be face to face with the ultimate phenomenon of our solar universe, where the transcendental flow reaches its end reach value of eternity. Therefore, we have to be face to face with, we have to run parallel to it, we have to exist parallel to it, we have to have a blissful existence phenomenon within human frame, as is the universal phenomenon of the transcendental formate leading successfully to the eternity. For it now, from next phase and stage, we will be adopting a technique of the workshops. Therefore, one shall prepare fully, one shall reach at the sum up of the values learnt from lesson 1 to lesson 60, and these values should be formulated. The text of the Ganita Sutras shall be memorized. Its 4 phases of prayers shall be availed, and then with the prayer of the Shipuran and with the text of the Videshwara Samhita, we shall prepare ourselves for proceeding further, for attaining breakthrough, for having a real entry in the Shipuran, which in fact will begin with chapter 2 of the Videshwara Samhita itself. Therefore, we will be starting with chapter 2, but essentially we will be reaching Sahita 2, Rudra Sahita. Therefore, the next word, next catchword, next transcendental formulation in terms of which we have to progress further, it is Rudra. So Rudra is the transcendental formulation, it is the catchword, it is the real formulation. It is in terms of this formulation that we shall be coming face to face with the transcendental values and features. Therefore, sadhakas fulfilled with intensity of urge to continue for having intensity of the initiation for the end reach. Therefore, one shall meditate and be face to face with the formulation Rudra. Henceforth, we shall be making workshop exercises. The workshop exercises would be of extended classes. These will not remain to the theoretical classes like this of half an hour. Those may extend up till 2 hours. Thank you very much.